All right, UFC flyweight division. This was the only female fight on the card. I'll get to the Dakota Duchieva fight a little later after I find the fight and watch it. I thought it would be available on ESPN, but it wasn't. Okay, so I'll get on that later. Carly Judas is in the flyweight division, 125, and she's currently unranked and currently has a fairly short or small professional fight career or record. This is her record right here. She has won 5 and lost 2. Both losses by split decision. One of those fighters was in the UFC, Gabriela Fernandez, and the other one was the Dana White's Contender Series. She's 26 years old. With that said, I think she's one of the best strikers in that division. Hold up a second. I think she's one of the best strikers in that division, and that she can strike with anybody, from Rose Namajunas, anybody in that division. And I think she's one of the fighters going to be the future of that division. Again, she's 26 years old, got plenty of time, and as long as she can prevent herself from getting mauled, like I said, she's only going to get, I think, better. After her split decision loss to Gabriela Fernandez, she's now on a 2-fight TKO win streak. In the UFC, even a 2-fight TKO win streak is significant. At least it'll get my attention. But most importantly was her performance in the cage, which I thought was impressive once again. She is a good boxer. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. She's a good boxer, but she blends in the knees well, and kicks. Knees and kicks. And she will mess you up. That's the thing. Her punches got good snap on them. And she's fluid. Her strikes are fluid. She'll throw out 3-4 strike combination in a real short period of time. Like nothing. Just boom. Effortless. And it seemed like most of the punches, if not all of them, got good snap on them. And another thing to make her dangerous, she can switch up from a jab to a hook with the same hand consecutively. In other words, she can throw a jab with her left hand and then immediately throw a hook with the same hand. That's rare for females. And the hook will have power on it. Snap, it'll have sting on it. I was impressed with that. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't she switching from southpaw to orthodox? And the movement, you notice how she'll use lateral movement to create angles and opportunities. It frustrates her opponents. And the release of those shots, like I said, fluid. She got pretty good form. Her jabs are hard jabs. Somebody compared her to Dakota Duchieva. I agree. Uses her length well. Them jabs got snap on them, and she'll follow them up quick with a right hand. That's another thing she had. She can lead. She's one of the few females who can lead with a straight right hand or a power hand, and effectively. She can throw lead straight right hands from an orthodox stance effectively. That is impressive to me, coming from the women. And these things I'm pointing out are the reasons why I think she's one of the top strikers. with the finish, the way she blends in those knees, really effortless, seamlessly. It's not a struggle. She's not telegraphing these shots. That's another thing. The straight right hands, when you lead with a power hand, it's usually somewhat telegraphed, but she flicks it out there just as easy as she flicks out a jab. And it's effective. It's effective. So being so young, I mean, as long as she's not done going there and get mauled, she obviously doesn't like to grapple. She's not a wrestler. And she's one of those fighters that's going to go in here and try to defend takedowns her whole career. You know, sort of a Joanna type. If I'm not mistaken, she was a striker, you know, professionally before she came into MMA. So as long as she's able to, and I would, in a striking contest, I would take her over Wayne Kong. Oh, yes, I would. I think Wayne Kong's strength on her feet is her leg kicks. But as far as her fists, I think she's about neck and neck with Carly Judas. I think they're just about even with the hands. And, you know, okay, let's look at the rankings. I think she's a better striker than Eduardo Mora, J.J. Aldrich, Wayne Kong, of course, Casey O'Neill, Karine Silva, Miranda Maverick, Jessica Andrade, Tracy Cortez, dare I say, Rose Namajunas, dare I say, Rose Namajunas. I think she's a better striker than Rose. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. She's a better striker than Rose. Let's keep going. Macy Barber, Jasmine Jasudavicius, Erin Blanchfield. She can go with Alexa Grasso. Oh, yes, she can. I think she's one of the top strikers in that division. I know, you know, some people might disagree. Hey, that's what we're here for. I'm just making my argument. I made a thumbnail along with the title, so I'm just making my case. That's some of the best work from a woman in this division I've seen. You know, I'm going to go ahead and give her flowers. There were multiple times where the audience was like, ooh, whoa, ooh. I've been talking about this ever since I've been online. That's a good way to gauge the effectiveness of a fighter, the efficiency of a fighter, is the crowd reaction. Trust people. I trust people. Because a lot of things that people do is instinct. And when people do things in sync, they're watching something special. They're watching something unique. When you get a bunch of people who think the same thing at the same time, woo, whoa, those knees, those hands was grabbing a lot of people's attention, even as small as the jabs, just like Dakota, just like I said. I think she's a top striker, Carly Judas. I think it's primarily a case of whether or not she's able to defend the takedowns, and if she's taken down, can she get back up to her feet? Longtime followers know I enjoy talking about fighters who are early in their career, like Carly Judas. 5-2, she's really just getting started, especially at 26 years old, compared to some of these other girls who are in their mid to upper 30s. Those girls are on their way out the door. They're going to be gone before Judas. So this is one of the up-and-coming fighters that you could compare to the likes of Jasmine Luciendo, Jauregui, and some of the other younger up-and-coming fighters with talent, with skill. And the fact that she's in there training with the likes of Rose, which is real good for her, it allows her to test her skills against what most have said is one of the best. People always considered Rose one of the best strikers ever. And look like she's in here training with Pat Barry too. This looks like maybe a close comrade of Rose Namajunas. Carly Judas, a close comrade of Rose Namajunas. So yeah, man. I know takes like this are not made that often. Most people don't talk about these newer unranked fighters, but TKO stoppages in general, when it comes from the women, demands respect, because it's, you know, and look, aside from these two split decision losses, her other victories, she's got a 100% stoppage ratio. And she won all her victory, all of her fights by KO or TKO and one KO. So exactly, this is exactly the type of fighter I like to spot out and call out as one of the fighters to look out for and to make predictions about. I think she'll eventually be ranked. And if these girls can't get her down and beat her on the ground, they're going to have a tough time striking with her and besting her on the feet. I don't care who it is. You're going to have a hard time with this chick. I don't like how she at times keeps her hands down and prefers to avoid shots by backing up and leaning back. I would prefer that she keeps her hands up more often. So as long as she doesn't get clipped and as long as she doesn't get mauled, I expect her to go in there and be a threat to anybody at 125 that she's matched up against. So that's a good thing for WMMA, UFC, and 125 in general. I'll leave it there. Yes, she's on par with Silva and Manon, in my opinion, as well.